So picture this. You're out for a walk, right? And you spot something, I don't know, just amazing.
Like a really cool bug or something.
Exactly, yeah. Like this incredibly intricate, iridescent bug resting on a leaf. Or maybe it's just, the delicate frosty veins on a flower petal.
Right, something super detailed.
Right. So naturally, you pull out your smartphone, and this isn't just any phone. I mean, this is a brand new top of the line device.
The one you just dropped like $1,000 on?
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
And it's got, those three massive camera lenses bulging out of the back. It's heavily marketed as this ultimate professional photography tool.
Right, you're feeling like a National Geographic photographer in that moment.
Totally. You feel so ready. So you bring the phone right up close to the bug, you tap the screen, and the result is, well, it's a complete blurry, out of focus mess.
Yeah, the camera just sort of pulses. You watch the screen as it searches, right?
Yes, the pulsing.
It's hunting for a subject it just can't quite grasp, and then it eventually just gives up and settles on this soft, smeared blur.
And honestly, I think the most frustrating part of that whole experience is that creeping realization. The feeling that your old phone, like the much cheaper one you had 5 or 6 years
Yeah,
ago.
the old ones.
Right. It was somehow vastly superior at taking these extreme close-up shots.
It's so true.
You just end up standing there in the park wondering if you just paid a massive premium to, actively downgrade your camera.
I mean, it's a completely rational suspicion, and I'm here to tell you no, it is not just nostalgia playing tricks on you.
Okay, good to know I'm not crazy.
You're not. You are hitting a very hard, very real physical wall in modern mobile technology.
Well, welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today, our mission is to decode this exact phenomenon.
It's a fun one.
It really is. We've got this fantastic dispatch in front of us today titled Notes on Photography, Part 247. It's by a photographer named Ang.
And it is just a brilliant, systematic breakdown of all the hidden limitations of modern mobile macro photography.
Yeah, we're going to explore exactly why the hardware in your pocket fights you when you get too close. We'll get into the bizarre ways software secretly alters your images, too.
That part is wild.
Super wild. And most importantly, we're going to cover the slightly intense, highly physical techniques you actually need to use to finally get that perfect close-up shot.
Yeah, to figure out why that blurry macro shot is happening, we really have to look under the hood. We have to look at the physical evolution of the smartphone camera itself.
Right.
Because the mobile industry actually engineered this specific hurdle right into the device. It's mostly a byproduct of changing consumer demands.
Yeah, the trend has completely shifted. The source notes highlight that over the last few years, manufacturers have pivoted heavily. They're going all in on massive zoom capabilities and like high-end general photography.
Exactly. And to make room for those specific features, they've quietly stripped the dedicated macro lens away from most recent phones.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
It is. If you look at those older phones that took great close-ups, I mean, many of them literally had a tiny separate lens built specifically for that one job.
Right, a dedicated piece of hardware.
Yeah, but physical space inside a phone is, well, it's the most expensive real estate in the tech world.
Every millimeter counts.
Exactly. So as people demanded the ability to take these, expansive sweeping landscape shots, or they wanted to zoom in on a singer's face from the back row of a stadium concert.
Right, we all want to be the paparazzi now.
Pretty much. So something had to go. Manufacturers basically sacrificed the microscope to give you the telescope.
Which brings us to a really fascinating, kind of counterintuitive problem. Because mid-range and high-end phones today, they are heavily marketed on having incredibly large camera sensors.
Massive sensors.
Yeah.
And usually a larger sensor is like the holy grail of photography.
Oh, absolutely. It means it captures way more light, it gives you better dynamic range, it performs beautifully in low-light situations.
Like in a dimly lit restaurant. Or at night. Yeah, exactly. Bigger sensor almost always equals a better image. But when it comes to close-ups, this massive upgrade actually breaks the system.
Right, and it breaks it because of, well, physics, the physics of optics.
Yeah. A large sensor is a huge advantage for gathering light, but it inherently produces a very, very shallow depth of field.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Let's visualize that depth of field concept for you listening, because, the word shallow can mean a few different things depending on the context.
Sure, yeah. Think of depth of field as the specific slice of the real world that is rendered in sharp focus by the lens.
Okay, a slice of focus.
Right. With a very small sensor, like the ones used in those older smartphones, That slice of focus is incredibly thick.
So everything is pretty much sharp.
Exactly. If you pointed an old phone at a flower, the petals in the front, the stem in the middle, and even the trees 20 feet in the background.
They might all look reasonably sharp.
Yeah, the camera just didn't have to work very hard to keep everything legible.
But then when you upgrade to these modern, massive 1-inch sensors,
That focal slice gets squeezed down.
Huh.
It gets squeezed until it's literally paper thin.
wow, paper thin.
Yeah. When you push a large sensor into a macro photography situation, like, aiming it at that tiny bug, the area that can physically remain sharp might only be a millimeter deep.
1 millimeter. That's nothing.
It's nothing. If the bug's eye is perfectly crisp, its wings are already blurring away into this soft, creamy background.
That sounds incredibly fragile, like visually fragile. And it gets even more restrictive, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not just about managing this tiny millimeter of sharpness. You are also fighting a strict physical boundary.
Yeah.
The source notes point out that these incredible main lenses have a hard minimum focusing range.
A very hard physical limit.
Right. You literally cannot put the phone closer than about 30 centimeters from your subject.
Which is nearly a foot away.
A whole foot.
Yeah, and this is a hard limitation of the glass itself.
Mhm.
To project a sharp image onto a massive sensor, the actual glass elements inside the lens have to bend the incoming light rays. If you bring the camera closer than 30 centimeters, the angles just become too extreme.
The glass just can't do it.
Exactly. The lens physically lacks the curvature required to bend those light rays sharply enough to focus them onto the sensor.
You know, it reminds me of trying to read a book in bed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like if you hold the book at a normal distance, the text is perfectly clear, obviously.
Right.
But if you take that open book and you literally press the pages directly against your eyeball.
Oh, yeah, you can't read anything.
Right. Your eye, which is a phenomenal organic lens, by the way, it just
Yeah.
completely fails.
It totally fails.
The text just becomes this blurry smudge of ink. The optics just can't handle the proximity. You have to physically pull the book back
Right.
to allow the light to focus properly.
That is a perfect analogy. The modern smartphone is suffering from the exact same optical limitation. It physically cannot read the text when it's pressed against the page.
Right. And honestly, I think the funniest part of this is that the phone software is completely aware of the physical limitation of its own hardware. Oh, it knows.
The camera interface essentially turns into a helicopter parent. Like if you try to get too close, modern phones will actively send pop-up notifications.
Yeah. Or little on-screen text warnings.
Right, telling you to physically back up.
Yeah.
It's essentially scolding you. It's saying, stop acting like a microscope. You're doing this wrong.
Yeah, but put yourself in the shoes of the user for a second. You want a picture of that tiny detail.
Naturally.
The phone is scolding you. It's forcing you to stand an entire foot away from the bug.
Mm-hmm.
So what do?
I mean, my immediate, deeply ingrained instinct.
The muscle memory we all have now.
Exactly. From the last decade of using touchscreens, my instinct is to just pinch the glass.
Yep.
If I can't walk my body closer, I'm going to make the software bring the subject closer to me. I pinch, I zoom in, I get my close-up, problem solved.
Except, as Aang's dispatch strongly warns, you have just stepped right into the magnification trap.
The magnification trap. Sounds ominous. It is. Pinching the screen for a macro shot usually results in an absolute disaster. Specifically, if you push into what's called hybrid zoom, like, going into 10x or beyond.
Okay, wait, let's establish some boundaries there for everyone listening. Why is a 10x hybrid zoom a trap? Like, what's actually happening inside the phone when I drag my fingers apart to hit that 10x mark?
Well, we have to separate optical zoom from digital zoom.
Okay.
Optical zoom is physical. The phone is actually swapping to a different physical glass lens on the back of the device.
So it natively magnifies the image before the light ever hits the digital sensor.
Exactly. That's optical. Digital zoom, on the other hand, is entirely software. It's taking the wide image from the sensor, cropping out the outer edges, taking the remaining center pixels, and artificially stretching them to fill your screen.
So it's essentially just blowing up a tiny portion of a photo in, like, Photoshop, which we all know degrades the quality.
Right, it looks terrible. And hybrid zoom is a marriage of those two things.
Ah, okay.
The phone uses its physical lenses to optically zoom as far as it can, which might be 3x or 5x, depending on the phone. But to get you all the way to 10x, it has to rely on software cropping.
So it just mathematically invents pixels to fill in the gaps?
Yep, it guesses.
But, the degradation of the image isn't even the biggest issue here, is it? The source notes that when people use this heavy hybrid zoom for close-ups, they experience catastrophic motion blur.
Yeah, and this is where physics really turns against you. When you stand a foot away and digitally magnify the center of the image by a factor of 10,
Yeah.
you aren't just magnifying the bug, you are amplifying every microscopic movement your own body makes.
Oh,
The
wow.
tiny muscle spasms in your forearm, the slight sway of your posture, I mean, even the rhythm of your breathing.
You're literally magnifying your
Their
heartbeat. Your
own heartbeat, that is insane.
A 1 millimeter tremor in your hand at a normal 1x focal length is completely imperceptible. You don't even notice it.
But a 1 millimeter tremor when you are digitally punched in at 10x, that means the subject is swinging wildly across the frame.
I have to push back on this, though, just a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
We are talking about incredibly advanced computers here. I mean, I paid over $1,000 for a device that boasts, state-of-the-art optical image stabilization. OIS.
True.
Shouldn't the hardware be able to just digitally iron out a little bit of hand tremor?
Well, OIS is an incredible piece of engineering, I'll give you that. But it is bound by physical limits.
Okay.
Inside the phone, the actual camera lens is suspended by these tiny springs and electromagnets. When the internal gyroscope detects your hand shaking to the left, it instantly pushes the lens slightly to the right to compensate.
So it tries to keep the light hitting the sensor perfectly still.
Exactly.
Well, that sounds like it should solve the problem entirely.
It does solve it for normal photography. But remember, that OIS hardware only has a tiny fraction of a millimeter of physical room to move inside the phone's chassis.
Oh, right. It's a tiny physical box.
Oh. Yeah. It is designed to counteract small angles of sway at normal distances. When you apply a 10x magnification to a subject that is only 30 centimeters away, the visual displacement caused by your handshake is massive.
Ah.
The electromagnets fire, the lens shifts to compensate, but it instantly hits the physical wall of its housing. It literally bottoms out.
It bottoms out. Wow.
Yeah. The stabilization hardware is basically being asked to perform a mechanical impossibility.
And this leads to a really interesting sort of psychological misdirection for the person taking the photo.
Yeah, the misdiagnosis.
Right. The source points out that when users look at the resulting photo, they completely misdiagnose what went wrong.
They see a soft, smeared, smudgy image, and they immediately blame the autofocus. They just assume the camera failed to lock onto the subject.
Because it looks exactly like an out-of-focus shot.
But the camera likely nailed the focus perfectly on that tiny paper-thin 1 millimeter plane. The problem is that while the digital shutter was open, capturing the light, your amplified heartbeat caused the phone to physically drag the image across the sensor.
So it's motion blur.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a smear masquerading as a focus issue.
So you're just standing there in the park, furiously tapping the screen and getting so frustrated with the autofocus algorithm when the real culprit is your own nervous system being weaponized against the photo by the digital zoom.
Yeah, it creates an incredibly frustrating user experience.
So let's kind of map out the corner we're backed into here. We can't move our bodies physically closer because of the 30-centimeter glass limit.
Right.
And we can't heavily zoom in because of the motion blur magnification trap.
Nope.
The camera just feels practically useless for this task. So how do we actually get the shot?
Well, the author of the notes realized that the only way to solve this is to completely abandon casual point-and-shoot habits.
Okay, so no more one-handed snaps.
No, you have to adopt some highly tactical physical workarounds. First, you have to find the hardware's sweet spot.
Okay, so the notes advise using exactly 2x or 5x optical zoom. No sliding the dial to like 3.5, no pushing it to 8.
Exactly. The exact numbers will vary slightly depending on the brand of phone you own, of course, but the principle is universal. You have to select the exact native focal length of the physical glass lenses on the back of the device.
Okay, I see.
By choosing precisely 2x or 5x, you are forcing the computer to use pure optical magnification.
You're bypassing the software crop entirely.
Yes. This strategy allows you to respect the mandatory 30-centimeter physical distance, so the lens can actually bend the light to focus.
But you're still visually pulling the bug closer to you.
Exactly, without triggering that smudgy, tremor-amplifying digital hybrid zoom.
Okay, so the zoom is handled. We've got that dialed in. But what about stability? Because even at a pure 5x optical zoom, standing a foot away, my hands are still going to shake a little bit.
They definitely are.
I mean, the obvious answer is to use a tripod, but the source immediately dismisses that.
Because a tripod fundamentally destroys the core appeal of mobile photography,
Mm.
which is spontaneity and portability.
Right. Nobody wants to lug that around.
If you're on a hiking trail and you spot a beautiful detail on a leaf, you aren't going to tell the wind to just stop blowing while you unsling a backpack, unfold a tripod, mount a bracket, and level the
And
horizon.
by the time you're set up, the bug has flown to a different time zone.
Exactly. The moment is totally gone.
So we need a physical fix that relies entirely on our own bodies. And the solution provided in the dispatch is what they call the elbow lock technique.
Yes, the elbow lock.
And honestly, reading the description of this, it sounds like training for an Olympic biathlon or something.
I mean, it is an aggressive bodily intervention. You're essentially trying to biomechanically engineer the sway out of your own skeleton.
It's intense. The instructions literally say you need to tuck your elbows tightly into your ribs, clamp your upper arms against your torso, and then exhale slowly right at the moment you click the shutter to minimize chest movement.
It's a lot.
We are talking about photographing a bumblebee, and the physical requirement is sniper breath control.
It sounds so extreme, but from a mechanical perspective, it works.
Does it?
Yeah. By fusing your elbows to your ribs, you eliminate the pivot points of your shoulders and your upper arms. You're turning your torso into a rigid, fleshy tripod.
A fleshy tripod. That's quite an image.
Right. And the slow exhale lowers your heart rate and physically deflates your lungs. That prevents your chest cavity from expanding and pushing the camera forward during the exposure.
Okay, I love the theory behind it, I really do. But we have to address the hilarious contradiction that happens when you actually try to execute this in reality.
Oh, the screen tapping.
Yes, because the ergonomics of a modern smartphone completely sabotage the technique. Think about it. You're standing there, elbows clamped to your ribs, exhaling smoothly, holding completely still like a marble statue. But to take the picture, you still have to trigger the shutter.
You have to interact with the device.
On a traditional DSLR camera, you have a physical mechanical button. It has travel, it has resistance.
Right. You can feel it.
You can rest your index finger on it, slowly apply pressure, and it clicks smoothly without disturbing the center of gravity of the heavy camera body. But on a smartphone, you're trying to tap a perfectly flat, frictionless piece of glass.
It is an ergonomic nightmare for precision work. Smartphones are designed to be sleek, pocketable slabs for swiping through social media. They're not balanced optical instruments.
Definitely not.
When you extend a thumb to tap that digital shutter button, you have zero tactile feedback.
You're essentially just poking the device. And poking, it pushes the top corner of the phone backward right at the exact millisecond. The lens is trying to capture that microscopic 1 millimeter plane of focus.
Yep, you are introducing a sudden, localized rotational torque into the camera body.
Rotational torque.
The very act of taking the photo induces the exact motion blur you just turned yourself into a human tripod to prevent.
It's absurd.
It's incredibly difficult to master.
Okay, let's play out the best case scenario here. You become an absolute Zen master of mobile photography. You memorize the 30-centimeter limit. You lock into the perfect 5x optical glass. Your elbows are clamped. You exhale smoothly, and you tap the glass screen with the touch of a ghost.
A perfect execution.
Exactly. The camera captures the image perfectly, no motion blur, absolute razor-sharp focus. You open the camera roll to look at the photo, and it still looks terrible.
Yeah. This brings us to the final boss of modern mobile photography.
The final boss.
You've conquered the physical hardware and the biomechanics of your own body, but now you have to fight the software.
Yeah.
Specifically, the artificial intelligence layer.
Because capturing the light perfectly is really only half the battle now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Once that light hits the digital sensor, the phone's internal computer takes over. And the source notes revealed that the standard AI processing pipelines and even those heavily marketed macro modes built into the camera app, they tend to wildly overprocess the final image.
The author describes this issue so beautifully. Ang points out that modern camera software has overly opinionated or sensible defaults.
Opinionated software. That is such a striking phrase. Like, what does it actually mean for a string of code to have an opinion about a photograph?
Well, contrast it with how we used to take photos. If you loaded film into an old SLR camera, or even if you used an early digital point-and-shoot, the camera was fundamentally a passive tool.
Right.
It opened a shutter, collected the light reflecting off the scene, mapped it to the film or the sensor, and handed you a raw representation of that exact moment. It didn't judge the light, it just recorded it.
It was a dumb tool in the best way possible.
Exactly. Modern smartphone cameras are not passive tools. They are active, aggressive neural engines running incredibly complex machine learning algorithms.
So they're thinking.
Yeah. The moment you press the shutter button, the camera isn't just recording light. It's instantly taking multiple frames, analyzing the scene, identifying objects, and making thousands of automated assumptions about what it thinks your photo should look like.
Based on the massive data sets it was trained on.
Precise.
So it looks at the bug on the leaf and essentially says, I know what leaves look like on social media. They usually have heavy contrast. The green is incredibly saturated and vibrant, and the edges of the bug are artificially sharpened.
Yes. The software enforces a sensible default. And in today's tech ecosystem, a sensible default usually means an image engineered to pop immediately on a brightly lit phone screen as someone mindlessly scrolls past it.
But when you're taking a macro shot, the entire goal is usually to capture delicate, subtle, natural textures.
Right, the fine details.
The fine hairs on a stem, the soft gradient of a shadow. When the AI applies its aggressive, opinionated defaults to that delicate data, it completely ruins the raw reality of the subject.
It really does.
The final image looks plasticky or crunchy or just wildly unnatural. The computer is actively fixing a photo that you already perfectly composed.
Which forces the photographer to find an escape hatch.
Yeah.
The author of the dispatch admits this is still an ongoing battle. But the ultimate tactical workaround for opinionated AI is usually buried deep in the camera app settings. It's Pro Mode.
Pro Mode, which is essentially the software override switch.
That's exactly what it is.
It tells the computational photography engine to stand down. It says, turn off your opinions, stop trying to artificially enhance the shadows, let me manually control the shutter speed and the focus, and just hand me the raw data the sensor collected.
It strips away all the smart features and forces the phone to behave more like a traditional passive camera.
Which honestly raises a massive question about the whole trajectory of consumer technology.
How so?
Well, if we have to navigate a 30-centimeter physical roadblock, lock into specific optical lenses to avoid digital smudging, learn sniper breath control to tap a glass screen, and then dive into advanced menus to bypass the artificial intelligence just to get an accurate picture of a flower, is the era of the easy point-and-shoot phone dead?
That's a great question.
Like, are everyday users basically being forced into becoming manual settings experts if they want a decent close-up photo?
Honestly, for highly specialized tasks like macro photography, the answer seems to be yes.
Wow.
These devices have become so heavily optimized and engineered for general, effortless usage. Taking a quick group selfie, snapping a picture of a restaurant receipt.
The things we do 99% of the time.
Right. But when you push them to the extreme edges of their capabilities, all of those automated safety nets actively work against you. You literally have to dismantle the smartphone experience to get an authentic photograph.
Which brings us perfectly to the author's final verdict. After rigorously testing the large sensors, battling the shallow depth of field, managing the minimum focus distance, dodging the magnification trap, and wrestling with the quirky AI processing, Ang evaluates the modern mobile camera system as a whole and decides to pivot completely.
Yeah, the conclusion is just a brilliant reframing of the tool. Rather than fighting the hardware, the author decides to lean into what it naturally does best.
Right.
These camera systems, with their massive light-gathering sensors and infinite depth of field at wider angles, they were actually phenomenal tools for street and architecture photography.
Which makes perfect sense. Architecture photography doesn't require a paper-thin focal plane.
At all.
It relies on the camera's ability to keep everything, from the fire hydrant on the corner to the skyscraper 5 blocks away, in sharp, bright focus.
Exactly.
The modern smartphone is an incredible tool for capturing the grand scale of the world. It's just a terrible microscope.
They're built to document the big picture, not the microscopic details.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's consolidate your new toolkit. The next time you see a tiny, fascinating detail out in the world and you want to capture it, remember the physical limitations we covered today. Stop treating the glass in your pocket like a microscope.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Stop pressing the lens directly against the subject.
Respect the 30-centimeter minimum physical distance. Give the glass the space it needs to actually bend the light.
And check your zoom dial. Lock into that exact 2x or 5x optical magnification to pull the subject closer without falling into that digital smudging trap.
Clamp those elbows tight to your ribs, exhale slowly, and stabilize the shot with your own biomechanics.
And if you're tired of your photos looking crunchy and artificial, take the leap into Pro Mode and tell the AI to keep its opinions to itself.
It shifts the burden back to you, the photographer. It requires a deliberate, mindful process rather than just expecting the computer to magically solve the physical challenges of light and optics.
It really does put the craft back in your hands.
It does. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to mull over regarding that AI software layer, the whole idea of opinionated defaults.
It's perhaps the most important concept to take away from the evolution of mobile photography.
I think so too. If the AI running our cameras is increasingly applying these aggressive automated defaults to overprocess and fix our photos before we even get to see the raw data, what does that mean for the future of our memories?
It's a slightly terrifying thought.
Are our digital photo albums going to remain an authentic reflection of the actual moments we live through? Or are they slowly, quietly becoming a reflection of what a tech company's algorithm thinks reality should look like?
Yeah.
The next time you look back at a photo from a vacation and the sky feels just a little too perfectly blue or the shadows look a little too clean, ask yourself whose memory you're actually looking at. Because the next time you go to take a picture of a blurry bug, you might find the camera has already decided it's a butterfly.